About the bailout. What do you make of what happened today?
Not that surprising. I mean, we have a president who has exhausted his credibility, a Treasury Secretary who is severely disliked and who has a haughty, contemptuous attitude, has not won him any friends on Capitol Hill. We have a plan that is a stinking plan, although probably should have been passed anyway. We have a Wall Street, which has taken some of the biggest salaries of all time for doing some of the worst jobs in the history of management of any enterprise. And small wonder that Americans are furious. But that being said, it should have been passed. Mrs. Pelosi should have counted the votes and made sure it was passable and would have passed before going to a vote.
Now we go to Paul Krugman. Your thoughts?
I'm shocked to say I think I agree. See, I'm so used to disagreeing. I agree with Ben about just about all of that. This was not a good plan. This was a plan. It was a horrible plan a week ago, and it was made sort of not totally horrible by the changes, but it was still not a good plan. But we did need to do something, and this was the most astonishing scene. I mean, this was, Republicans say they voted against it because Nancy Pelosi made a partisan speech. It's like, Ma, she's saying nasty things about me, and they voted down our rescue for the, this was a terrible thing. I mean, I don't know how this plays out now, but this was, we're playing with fire here. We really are at some risk of really, well, look, what my wife said was we're now a banana republic with nukes. That's her description of where we are right now.
Ben, what do we do?
Well, I think, first of all, we call Congress back into session immediately. This idea that we can't have a session Tuesday or Wednesday because they're Jewish holidays is nonsense. We don't have a state with an established religion, and if we did, it certainly wouldn't be Judaism. So let's get everybody back to work immediately. I mean, people work on Christmas, people work on Easter, people work on Sunday. Get back to work. Pass the bill. Let's have the Republicans say, okay, we made our statement, but look, this has nothing to do with Fannie and Freddie. It has nothing to do with anything except that we've got to get credit flowing again. We'll keep a close eye on Mr. Paulson, we promise you, but let's get this darn thing running. Okay. Let's get some confidence back in the system.
By the way, he mentioned the Jewish New Year. Happy New Year to all our Jewish friends. And it is year 5769. We're an old people.
Yes,
okay,
very old.
Paul, what do we do?
Well, there's two parts. I'm not so upset about this waiting till Thursday because I think that the carnage in the markets will help concentrate Congress's mind. So I think we have a much better chance of actually doing the right thing. Again, we got to say this is, as Ben says, a stinking bill, but it's better than nothing at all. 2 more days won't kill the world economy. I guess we need something to focus. If it fails on Thursday, which is, I have to say, still a very real possibility, then I think back to the drawing board. Scrap the whole plan, write a plan which, given the way things are, is a plan that Democrats will sign on to and pass it with Democrats only, and just say, look, we're being the grown-ups here.
Maybe have a plan in which the money goes to the homeowners, and thereby they can pay their mortgages. That stabilizes the mortgage bundles in the debt markets. That stabilizes the banks and investment banks and insurers that hold them, and the process goes from the bottom up instead of from the top down.
And one in which the federal government takes over the firms, the financial institutions that just have to be kept running, as they did with AIG just not that long ago, because we have to, what this plan was in some ways the hardest thing to sell, because it was saying Uncle Sam, which is you and me, because we're the taxpayers, is going to go and buy up all this toxic waste from the banking sector, and everybody rightly is asking, well, aren't we, isn't that something for nothing? I think it was designed so it would actually be not too bad, but it was the wrong place to start. So we can do this better. We can do this, there are precedents. Sweden cleaned up a bad mess, and they did it pretty well 15 years ago. We could do, we could learn something from the Swedish model.
Well, we could try stopping these nutty experiments. I mean, Paulson had this nutty experiment of letting Lehman Brothers fail. Now he's had this nutty experiment of saying, make me the czar of the whole economy and don't have any oversight over me except a tiny little bit. Let's have something under the Constitution, not under the whim of Henry Paulson. And let's have it go from the little people up instead of from the very rich people down.
Why, Paul, does President Bush appear not to have clout here?
Oh, who believes him anymore? I mean, when Henry Paulson speaks, people see the ghost of Colin Powell behind him saying there are weapons of mass destruction. When the president appeals for national unity, people think of all the times that he exploited 9/11 for partisan gain, and there have just been too many lies from this White House. Nobody believes what it says, and the Republicans in Congress are, you know, they would like to pretend that the last 8 years didn't happen. So they're not going to be swayed by an appeal from that guy in the White House. They can't remember his name. What was his name?
We'll have Ben respond. We'll be right back with Ben Stein and Paul Krugman. Whose fault is